dastardly and cowardly act that has led to the loss of innocent lives. The Cabinet reiterates India's unwavering commitment to a policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The Cabinet directs that the investigation into the incident be pursued with the utmost urgency and professionalism so that the perpetrators, their collaborators, and their sponsors are identified and brought to justice without delay. The situation continues to be closely monitored at the highest levels of the government.
So there are two clear priorities as of now: the progress of the investigation and the security measures being taken in its aftermath. As more details emerge, expect the government to act quickly. Remember, India's capital has been targeted for the first time in 13 years. A strong response is expected. This was Delhi's first terror attack in 13 years. But this wasn't an isolated incident. In the last 48 hours, multiple cases have surfaced across India, all related to terrorism. They happen in different states, they involve different methods. But when you connect the dots, you see a disturbing pattern emerge. We've already told you about yesterday's raids and how the Red Fort blast may be linked to them. 2 doctors were arrested in the raids and nearly 3 tons of explosive material was seized. Again, this operation spanned multiple Indian states. Apart from the explosives, investigators also recovered deadly weapons like AK-47 guns, pistols, and assault rifles. A resident of Lucknow was also arrested. Her name is Dr. Shaheen Shahid. She too was a doctor with links to the cell operating out of Faridabad. Reports say the police recovered an assault rifle from her. And while this raid and the blast in Delhi dominated the headlines, another operation was underway. This was in India's western state of Gujarat. Gujarat's anti-terror squad arrested 3 men. Among them was a doctor. He had a medical degree from China, and reports say that he was trying to make a chemical weapon. Now, this group, the one operating in Gujarat, was trying to make ricin. It's one of the deadliest poisons on earth. Ricin is made from castor beans. Even a tiny amount can be fatal. There is no known antidote. The treatment only focuses on keeping the victim alive and offering supportive care. Ricin is among the most restricted substances in the world. Its use, storage, and transport are tightly controlled. Now, this group in Gujarat was trying to manufacture it. Where did they plan to use it? Apparently, they conducted a recce in 3 cities: Ahmedabad, the most populous city of Gujarat; Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh, one of the largest states of India; and Delhi, which is the national capital. These 3 cities were on their radar. When this group was caught, investigators found 3 pistols on them, also 30 cartridges, and nearly 4 liters of castor oil. This group is said to have had links with the ISKP, the Islamic State Khorasan province. It's a regional offshoot of ISIS operating out of Afghanistan, ISKP. And how did these people in Gujarat get the weapons? Investigators say the weapons were delivered using drones. They were dropped across the Pakistan border at a secret pickup site. Now let's look at all the 3 events together: the blast in Delhi, the raids in Faridabad and Jammu and Kashmir, and the crackdown in Gujarat. Is there a connection? So far, no clear link has emerged, but there are similarities that are hard to miss. Each case involved doctors. Their credentials gave them cover. Each operation was spread over multiple states, from Kashmir to Faridabad, from Uttar Pradesh to Gujarat. This could have been a pan-India operation. The methods were sophisticated: expertise to make chemical agents, drone-enabled arms drops, and industrial-grade explosives. This is not the old model of terrorism, where a single organization coordinated attacks from across the border. This is one professional, decentralized, and adaptive group with multiple cells. There are small terror cells involving just 3 to 7 people. They hide in plain sight. You can arrest one cell, you can neutralize the second one, but the third one can still strike because the threat is no longer coming from a single concentrated source. The threat is distributed. This is India's new security challenge, and it demands a new playbook. It was a tense Thursday in Dhaka, very little traffic, very few people on the streets, and a lot of police presence. Dhaka did not look like a bustling Asian capital city, it looked like a city under siege. Why? All because of a sham trial. The trial of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Her case is being heard by a special tribunal in Dhaka. Hasina and her ministers face charges of murder and genocide. If convicted, they could get the death penalty. And that conviction could come soon. Today, the tribunal set the date for her verdict. November 17th is the D-Day. That's the coming Monday. So the next couple of days will be very crucial. Expect tensions, protests, and maybe even violence. In fact, we're already seeing it. Overnight, 5 vehicles were torched in Dhaka. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Then today, the central office of the Awami League was attacked. The Awami League is the party of ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. A group of 15 people lit a fire inside the building. Elsewhere, the BNP office was also attacked. That's the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP, the party of Hasina's longtime rival, Khaleda Zia. This party, the BNP, is touted to win the upcoming election in Bangladesh. And their office in Barishal was also burnt. Put together, dozens of such attacks have been reported, including blasts at around 17 locations. So who's behind them? The interim regime is blaming the Awami League. What a shocker. They've arrested at least 46 leaders in a nationwide hunt. They're blaming Sheikh Hasina's party for this. Which brings us to today. Security was beefed up across Dhaka. Police officers were deployed near the tribunal. The situation was tense, but not violent. Only a handful of buses were seen on the streets. Private cars were virtually absent, and schools were open but largely empty. In the evening, interim leader Mohammad Yunus addressed the nation. He made 2 crucial statements. One, there will be a referendum in February. It will be held on the same day as the national election. And what will people vote on? Some proposed constitutional changes. If a majority vote for them, for those changes, they will be adopted. That's the first announcement. Secondly, Yunus called for unity. He asked the political parties to put aside their differences. He urged them to display a united front.
We have decided, after considering all the factors, that the referendum will be held on the same day as the next parliamentary elections. We should not tarnish the glory of the unity that the countrymen built by standing tall in the face of death against fascism in July 2024 by engaging in petty disagreements and trivial disputes.
That's the thing about Mohammad Yunus. He speaks like a statesman, but his actions, they're quite the opposite. Meanwhile, Yunus's chief rival is also speaking out. That's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She fled to India in August last year after violent protests. In Delhi, Hasina has been largely silent. No interviews, no public appearances. She has lived a quiet life. But 15 months later, she is speaking out. Sheikh Hasina has given multiple interviews to the media, and she's spoken on a whole lot of issues. We'll focus on 3 of them. One, was there a foreign hand in the protests of 2024? That's a question that she's been asked and she's spoken about. Earlier, a letter had leaked. It was believed to have been written by Sheikh Hasina, and it did allude to American meddling. But she now says no, neither the US nor any other foreign power meddled in 2024.
We have always had good relationships with successive US administrations and have no reason to believe that the US government or other foreign powers were actively involved. President Trump, with whom I have very good relations, has publicly expressed his dislike of Yunus.
Secondly, what is Yunus's goal for Bangladesh? Hasina wanted a progressive secular country. What does Mohammed Yunus want? Again, listen to what she said.
If Westerners think Yunus is a friendly face, they are being fooled. In fact, he is being used as the front man by the extremists in his administration, who are pursuing a sectarian, score-settling, and socially regressive domestic agenda.
She's right about that. Mohammed Yunus does appear to be a front. The real power lies with radical Islamist groups. And that's a flashpoint with India too. New Delhi has urged Dhaka to keep such elements in check to promote peace and secularism, but Yunus is going the Pakistan way. He's giving space to radical elements, which brings us to the third point. Does Hasina hope to return to Bangladesh one day? She says yes, but she has some conditions.
The most important condition for my return to Bangladesh is the same condition that the Bangladeshi people require: a return to participatory democracy. The interim administration must rescind its ban on the Awami League and allow elections that are free, fair, and inclusive.
Dhaka is not happy with Sheikh Hasina. They have summoned the Indian envoy to protest these interviews. Chances are things will escalate further next week. Once Hasina is convicted, Yunus will turn to India. He will put more pressure on New Delhi to extradite Sheikh Hasina. Like I said, this is a tense period. More than 15 months have passed since the horrible events of July 2024. I'm sure the people are hoping to move forward, but Mohammed Yunus will not let them. His politics depends on reopening old wounds. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most delusional of them all? In geopolitics, there's only one answer: Pakistan. The country seems to possess a strange kind of delusional confidence. The kind where you talk about a two-front war when you're barely being able to keep the lights on. And who's leading the charge of this fantasy? Well, you guessed it right. It is Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif, a man known less for strategy and more for sound bites that defy logic. Normally, we wouldn't take him seriously, but his latest statement deserves a special mention. And I will read it out. This is what he said. We are ready for war on two fronts. We are ready. We are prepared to face both the eastern, that is India, and western border, Afghanistan. Allah helped us in round one, and He will help us in round two. Let me break down his statement. Khwaja Asif says Islamabad is ready for a two-front war. And what are these two fronts? India and Afghanistan. It would be amusing if it wasn't dangerous, because Asif did not stop at that. He said Allah helped us in round one. So in round two, He would help them too. Now what is this round one that he's talking about? Operation Sindoor, that's what he's referring to. Pakistan-backed terrorists killed 26 people, 26 civilians, mostly tourists, in India's Pahalgam. In response, India bombed terror camps in Pakistan. Pakistan continued to escalate tensions. India bombed their military bases. Finally, Pakistan had to sue for peace. They begged for a ceasefire through back channels. If Khwaja Asif thinks that this is winning round one, we say congratulations to him. Also, here's the thing. India is not even Pakistan's biggest headache. It's the Taliban. It's a group that's Pakistan's own creation, a group that they armed, trained, and nurtured for decades. Now it has come to haunt Islamabad. Leading the the charge is the TTP, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, better known as the Pakistani Taliban. They're wreaking havoc in Pakistan. They're blowing up convoys. They're attacking police posts. Recently, a bomb blast killed 12 people in Islamabad. A TTP breakaway faction has claimed responsibility for the attack. But do you know who Pakistan is blaming? India, as usual. Here's what their Prime Minister said, and I'm quoting again. These attacks are a continuation of India's state-sponsored terrorism aimed at destabilizing Pakistan. But let's be honest, Khwaja Asif's war talk is not really about India or Afghanistan, it's about optics. It is about distraction, because right now the biggest war in Pakistan is not external, it is internal. A silent coup is underway in Islamabad. Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir is quietly redrawing the country's constitution. He is doing it through the 27th Amendment. It gives Asim Munir the power to control the armed forces and even the judiciary. How? Under the new title of Chief of Defense Forces. It grants him extensive powers. It seals his constitutional coup. Remember, Pakistan has seen 3 coups before. With Ayub Khan in 1958, Ziaul Haq 1977, Parvez Musharraf 1999. But this one, it's the most dangerous of them all because it comes disguised as reform. So when Khwaja Asif says Pakistan is ready for a 2-front war, one can't help but ask, which 2 fronts exactly? Because from where India is standing, it looks like Pakistan is already fighting multiple wars. It is fighting an economic war with reality. Its reserves are barely enough for weeks of imports. It is fighting a political war. Elections are pre-scripted, and opposition leaders are in jail. It is fighting a civil-military war, where generals rule and civilians only pretend to. It is fighting a credibility war, one that it has long lost since on the global stage. So when Pakistan talks about a 2-front war, maybe it should first try winning the one against itself. Because, and I repeat, right now their biggest enemy is not India, their biggest enemy is their own delusion. And no matter how many rounds Khwaja Asif claims to win, reality is not one of them. There's a war brewing in the Caribbean. On one side, the lethal American military. On the other, a desperate Venezuelan army. The guns are in place, the warships are moving in. All that's left is to pull the trigger. The question is, will US President Donald Trump do it? And we can tell you the indications are not good. Yesterday, an American warship sailed into the Caribbean, and it's not just any other warship. It's the largest and most advanced carrier in the world, the USS Gerald Ford. 100,000 tons of lethal firepower. This ship was supposed to be in the Mediterranean, but the US cut short its deployment. Instead, it was rerouted to the Caribbean. Experts say this is a strange decision for the US military because these are not nimble vessels. These are floating islands. They sail with a lot of firepower and support. Take a look at this. 5,500 soldiers, 75 attack and surveillance aircraft, which includes FA-18 fighter jets, and 5 missile-guided naval destroyers. This is what the Gerald Ford is bringing to the Caribbean. A lot of additional firepower is already there. There are 10,000 US soldiers in the region. Around half of them are in Puerto Rico. This is an overseas US territory. It's around 800 kilometers from Venezuela. Back in September, the US military had reopened a base on this island. So clearly, they were planning to mobilize. Other than the Gerald Ford, the US has 9 warships in the Caribbean, amphibious assault ship Iwo Jima, transport dock San Antonio, destroyer Jason Dunham, destroyer Stockdale, destroyer Gravely, missile cruiser Lake Erie, missile cruiser Gettysburg, combat ship Wichita, and nuclear submarine Newport News. Plus, you have the air assets, the B-52 strategic bombers, the B-1B supersonic bombers, the F-35 fighter jet, and the MQ-9 Reaper drones. All of these assets are deployed in the Caribbean. Now, I could detail each of these weapons, but I'm sure you get the idea. You don't order this kind of firepower for no reason. You're either preparing for war or you're hoping to scare the opposition into submission. So which is it? In public, the other side is not acting scared. Yesterday, Venezuela staged a military drill. Their defense minister promised to protect the homeland.
We are lovers of peace. We deeply love peace. We do not want war either here or anywhere in the world. But if they come to touch Venezuela, well, they will find us here. Walk through the streets. Walk through the barracks. Walk through the communes. Walk through the communal militia units. And there you will see a people determined to defend this homeland to the death.
I know it sounds very brave, but trust me, the Venezuelans are scared. If the US military is at your gates, anyone would be. Now, this conflict began over drugs. The US accused Venezuela of smuggling drugs into the US. They say President Nicolas Maduro is behind it. In fact, the US has a bounty for Maduro, $50 million for his capture. For the capture of the Venezuelan president, $50 million. Many of Trump's advisors want him gone. They're pushing for a regime change in Venezuela, and their tactics have been diverse. The most visible tactic has been the airstrikes. The US military has struck 19 Venezuelan ships in the region. Washington calls them drug boats. No evidence, no trial. We're supposed to take their word for it. Put together, these strikes have killed 76 people since September. Even US allies are not okay with these attacks. Look at the UK, for example. In September, they stopped sharing Caribbean intelligence with the United States. Do you know why? In a sort of protest against the strikes. Now, the UK has 5 overseas territories in this region. They gather a lot of intel from those sites, but none of it will be shared with the US. Yet Trump doesn't seem to care. He has carried out more attacks since September, but will it go beyond that? Well, capability is not a question. The US military is far superior to Venezuela. They could neutralize them in weeks, if not days. But what happens after that? As of this week, the US has 15,000 troops in the region. That is not enough to occupy a country of almost 30 million people, so they can beat Venezuela, but not hold it. Which brings us to some of the possible scenarios. Number one, limited strikes to weaken Maduro. Reports say crucial military targets have been identified. If Trump agrees, they could be hit. Number two, targeting national resources. Oil is the mainstay of Venezuela's economy, and most of their oil is concentrated in the eastern part. Perhaps the US will try to take out those facilities, or maybe even take over them. And finally, possibility number three, Maduro folds. He stands alone against the US. Yes, China and Russia have offered political support, but that means little during a war. So Maduro may choose to strike a deal with Donald Trump. In fact, he's already tried once. Reports say that he made a proposal to the US last month. He offered all future oil and gold contracts to American companies. He also promised to end deals with Russia and China. Simply put, he tried to sell his country to the US, but apparently Donald Trump rejected it. And that's the tricky part here. No one knows what Trump actually wants from this episode. Is he signaling toughness on drugs? Is he trying to topple a socialist ruler? Is he eyeing Venezuela's natural resources? No one knows. All we can do is wait for the next deployment or airstrike. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Just ask the BBC, the self-proclaimed gold standard of journalism, the flag bearer of neutrality. If you ask the BBC, they don't even know what bias means. That's how uncorrupted they are. Or so they claimed. Recently, an unprecedented scandal hit the BBC, a scandal that has claimed its top bosses, a scandal that has forced them to admit bias and apologize. Let's start from the top. Last week, The Telegraph published a report. It contained claims made by the BBC's former advisor, a man named Michael Prescott. Prescott's criticism revolved around one incident, an episode on Donald Trump. It covered his controversial speech from January 2021, the one before the Capitol riots, and it had a problem. The BBC team cut the clip in a peculiar way. See if you can spot it.
We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them.
Two problems there. First, that BBC clip is a mix. It stitches two different remarks together, remarks that came almost 1 hour apart. That's the first problem. Secondly, it omitted an important part, the part where Trump asked his supporters to be peaceful. The Telegraph report claims that this was done on purpose. And on cue, the backlash began. The UK's Conservative Party wanted heads to roll. Over in the US, Trump's team called the BBC 100% fake news.
This purposefully dishonest, selectively edited clip by the BBC is further evidence that they are total 100% fake news that should no longer be worth the time on the television screens of the great people of the United Kingdom.
This controversy started last week, but surprisingly, the BBC said nothing. No defense, no clarification, and no pushback. Then yesterday night came the big announcement. Two bosses at the BBC stepped down, Director General Tim Davie and CEO of News, Deborah Turnus. Both of them resigned yesterday night. They took responsibility for the edited clip. At the same time, they rejected any systemic bias.
I would like to say it has been the privilege of my career to serve as the CEO of BBC News and to work with our brilliant team of journalists. I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
Today, the BBC went a step ahead. The organization's chair apologized for what happened. Let me quote from his statement. The conclusion of that deliberation is that we accept that the way the speech was edited did give the impression of a direct call for violent action. The BBC would like to apologize for that error of judgment. Needless to say, US President Trump is thrilled. He claims all BBC journalists are corrupt. He also accused them of trying to meddle in the elections. And what is London saying? The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office has responded. They say accountability is key for the BBC. At the same time, he rejected claims of systemic bias. And that seems to be the strategy here. Accept blame in this case, but reject the notion of systemic bias. That's what they're trying to do. Frankly, that sounds counterproductive. Let me explain why. Yes, the BBC edited Trump's clip. Yes, they omitted some parts of his speech, but China, the US economy is also going through a crisis. Yesterday, there was a meltdown. It was almost $1 trillion were wiped out. Imagine that. $1 trillion in value gone in one day. It was the worst trading day for Wall Street in a month. We'll get to the reasons in a bit, but first the numbers. The S&P 500